My name is Aidan Owens. I'm the culinary director for Urban Sea and Urban Wood. Welcome back to Break It Down. I linked up with my buddy Shane, a fisherman here in San Diego. Shane brought me 3 local species: Yellowtail, Rockfish, and Mackerel. In this episode, I will demonstrate how I break down each one and show you one way I serve them at my restaurant. Let's break it down. So, first thing I'm gonna do is, there's a bone right here, so I'm gonna come right behind it. And then I'm going to be cutting up to the top of its head. The meat on a yellowtail runs all the way to the back of its head right here. Then I'm going to be coming down, finding another bone right by this fin, and cutting through that. Super simple, super easy. You're going to come back and you're going to find your initial cut. And you're just going to be running right along the spine. Next, cut right here. You're going to come in the other side. So the reason that we do this is so that way when we follow through with our knife in a minute, we're not having to make another cut. The other thing is that yellowtail have notoriously big spines, as you can see right here. So instead of coming up and over it, we can come through this side and we're gonna get a lot cleaner of a cut. We're gonna flip it over, and then we're just gonna repeat the same process. So behind the collarbone, down through here, making sure that we have a nice cut. We're gonna come up through the back of its head, flip it around. We're going to find that cut, and then we're just going to run right along the spine. Come in through here. Cool. From there, we can remove the tail, and then remove the head. With most fish, depending on what you're going to be doing, you're going to want to swap knives. So choose a flexible knife for this part right here. You're going to be pressing along the bones in the spine. What that's doing is it's ensuring that I'm getting as much meat as I possibly can. I'm running back in through my thumb, with my thumb. It's going to be making sure that I'm sitting on top of the bones instead of actually going through the bones. Every once in a while you mess up. It's just part of it. So, come in through here, and then right there I can feel that I'm starting to hit the spine. I'm releasing all the tendons, get nice and good, and I'm going to come back through on this side. So flip it open. You can see that the spine is raised right here, right? So when I push my knife against it, my knife can bend around and it's still cutting meat without removing any extra any meat. So I'm able to get right on top of these bones and I'm able to get around the spine. So from there, it's a honsuki mixed with a debo. So it's essentially 2 different kinds of butchering knives. What that means is it's incredibly strong. And then what I'm trying to do here is break through those bones. Because I just want a really nice clean cut. We've gone through this side, we've gone through this side, and we've really minimalized the amount of meat that we've left on the skeleton. And with that, that's why we use a flexible knife and then a breaker, so that way we can come through, chip these away, and then after that we can come through and trim up this belly portion a little later. So now we'll flip it over and we'll repeat the process. So whenever I'm breaking these down, I tend to go a little bit slower because, like I said, and like we've talked about a couple times today, yellowtail is expensive. Take your time with it, bigger fish. Doesn't matter how many of these things I break down. I always like to give it the attention it deserves, spend a little extra time on it. And then another thing that you can tell with me breaking down this fish, it's bleeding a little. It's because it's fresh. Very, very fresh. So the blood will begin to congeal in a fish after a little while. That's not the case here.
like a lot of things, fish is going to smell different depending on how old it is. So just like chicken, just like beef, just like a lot of things, the smell changes as time goes on. So myself and Shane were both talking about a little earlier, is you want it to smell like the ocean. You don't want it to smell like fish. That typical fish smell, you know, back when your parents used to cook fish early in the morning and the whole house would kind of reek and it would linger for days. You don't want that. You want that good, like, beautiful ocean smell. There we go. So there's our 2 loins. So the way I always explain this to people who are just learning how to butcher and whatnot is knife to the sky, and then you're gonna come right to the back. Just the tip is like all you really need for this. And then you're just gonna be following along your initial incision. We're gonna try and come through these little bones right here. All that we're doing now is we're just removing these bones, right? So the pin bones that were left, or the rib bones right here, and then all of this white stuff that you're seeing, that's actually where the organs were living. So you don't necessarily want that, especially because, like I was saying, most of the stuff that we do with Yellowtail is all raw. So you're kind of just looking to trim off a lot of this. We're not looking to get rid of too much of our belly, because, like you guys can see, there's really beautiful meat in here. It's got a ton of fat on it. Get rid of this. So this is going to be all of our trims, just like our scraps. Cut them up for either like tiraditos or ceviches. Those little pieces are always delicious. We also smoke them here a lot, and then we'll whip them into farces. Take this. Yellowtail and sea bass are always the 2 with the biggest pin bones in them. The thing is like, so when fish is really fresh, the muscles are super tight, and like older fish, you actually do have an easier time pulling out the pin bones. I know that sounds weird. Also stuff that's like a little softer, like a salmon or anything like that. Whereas like, especially like California white sea bass, yellowtails, they have really strong bones. So you kind of always end up in this like pickle of, you also don't want to like damage the meat too much. So I go in, try and remove them with as much care as I can. The other thing with when you're removing pin bones is you want to go with the grain. So you don't want to rip against, you want to come with. You're just trying to leave as much meat in there as you possibly can. And then cut right down the middle. From there. Other side of this. This is also removing the bloodline. So with Yellowtail, we tend to have a little bit more blood and sinew all the way down through the middle. So pull that off right there. This is another piece that we'll smoke and trim later. And then from here, we have our belly loin and our top loin. So right now I'm just removing the skin from the Yellowtail. Super easy. So you just place your knife right against your cutting board, pull across. Taking the skin, and then from there just trimming them up. So this top portion, again, this is going to have a little bit more of like the sinew. So you can see the color difference when I cut this off. So it comes a little red. And then from there, just pulling this. And I really can't like explain enough that all of this stuff gets used but we're just looking for the nicest piece if we're trying to do a little bit of sashimi or throw a piece on the grill for a sandwich. After that, all of this either gets smoked or chopped up quite small and then used in other dishes in the menu. You see the color difference right here? Dark red to light red. So this is the bloodline. So these are the pieces that are a little more irony. They're not going to be as clean tasting as this center one. So you can see right here, this is something that you would get like normally at like a sushi restaurant. Like you have this really nice, beautiful cross section, and it's super delicate, really, really tender. So that's what we're going to use a little down the line. So this is the head that we're coming back on, and now we're going to be getting out our cheeks and our collars. So come through here, cut through this little fibrous bit, boom. You're going to flip it back over, and then it's hard to see, but there's this little bone right here. And so all you're going to do, come underneath this bone, come up, and then come back down. And the collar just comes off really, really nice and easy. And then, from there, you're going to do the same on the other side. So you're going to find that bone. Underneath the bone, back down through it. And then, once you split them in half, this is a really nice way to cook them. So you're going to want to trim them up a little bit. Take off some of the sinew. All of these kind of like the wider, tougher pieces. You're going to want to remove all of that. Same thing on the other side. Anything that looks like blood, you want to take off. It's not going to eat too great. And then, same thing right here. And then now you can see we're starting to get down into what looks more like beautiful, beautiful. So we serve them here, and we call them angel wings because they kind of resemble an angel's wings. And so all that we'll do is brush them, and you can see it's got all this like beautiful fat in here. We'll brush them, and like I was talking about earlier, we'll throw them in the pizza oven, but similar to a broiler, and then we'll just brush them with like a really rich soy glaze, and as they cook, it just bakes in there. We serve it with some rice, a whole bunch of pickles, and yeah, this is something that every time we have them, they sell out in about an hour. It's a piece that you don't find in a lot of restaurants, and I think also because sometimes they have like these bones that are sitting here and some pieces that you have to work around. But the customers that know that this is one of the best cuts in the whole fish. After that, we're going to come back through and we're going to remove our cheek, which will probably be lunch for a couple of us here at the restaurant. So, easiest way, like we've talked about with a couple of animals, and like I always, teach to these guys here, is use your fingers, push around. Like you can see that this is all a plate. So the head of a yellowtail is super, super tough. And then as soon as your fingers find these soft spots, that's when you know you're gonna start cutting it. Also, don't be afraid to make some mistakes. It's part of learning. The other thing is you'll make a wrong cut, or you'll chop off something that you didn't mean to, and maybe you'll misportion something along the road. But that's what we use scraps for. That's what we use trim for. Never throw it in the trash. Never get rid of it. Always keep everything. You wanna save everything that you can, because at the end of the day, there's always a purpose for it. There's always a way to use it, and if you're not using it, then that's the biggest mistake. When we have a lot of leftover stuff, Doesn't matter if it's, you know, the shells of the shrimp or the bones of the fish or whatever it is, we try to use it. And sometimes you simply just do have excess. Like, there's only so much fish stock that you can make, especially when you're going through 2,000 pounds of fish every week. So with that, as long as you are utilizing, you know, every part of the fish and you're doing your best, I think that's an A+ effort. So usually, we'll take this piece off right here. And the reason for that is just because of the amount of fat that you can see in there. Like this cross section right here, the amount of fat in there is insane. It's actually it's coming off on my hands just from the heat that my hands are producing. And let me show you again. It's just it's white almost, especially when you compare it to something like this. So you can see the muscle in here, and then you can see the fat in this belly piece. And with this is great for smoking just because of the amount of fat that it has, and it's insanely tasty. This will also be like little pieces that we put into pâtés, or we also put into fish sausage, because what you don't find in a ton of like fish like this is fat. You want fat, especially when you're making sausages. So this is what we take off, and it also turns into lunch a lot. I mean, I feel like I'm talking about lunch a lot. I must be hungry. So here we have the head, our cheeks, followed into our collar, which is our angel wings right here. We then have the skeleton, which you can roast off and use for a fumet or a fish stock. This right here is going to be your half loins. So your top loin, your bottom loin, your belly portion. An easy example of that is right here. Your top loin, your bottom loin, your belly portion. These are the parts that we love for sashimi right here. So this is your top loin center cut, and this is what it looks like afterwards. And then this is your tail portion belly piece. So again, there's another beautiful portion right here, and then this will also go into smoking. There's like we were talking about earlier, a bunch of tendons in here, a little bit more fibrous, a little bit more chewy. Braises, soups, stocks, anything like that, you know, cioppino, beautiful in. But personally, I love smoke. I love putting anything on the wood fire, so that's where this will end up. And then our tail, of course, use it for decoration. So yeah, these are our Aji mackerels, and then we also have some of our Pacific mackerels over here. I'm just going to show you the easiest way to gill and gut these things. So usually what I'll do is I'll take my scallop dexter knife, and I'll come through the base right here until I hit this collarbone. Right? I'll then come from the top of the head right to the back. From there, I hold the collarbones, pull down, take that out, run my finger along the bloodline, boom. That's head, collarbone, and guts all at once. And you just get this beautiful, beautiful cut. Super easy, super clean, super fast. So same with these Pacific mackerels, you can tell. Same thing. Run along the base, hit the collarbone, stop. Flip it over, right at the back of the head till you hit the collarbone. Put your fingers on the collarbone, pull it down, one smooth motion. There it is. Usually what I'll be doing is I'll also have some running water going, so that way any of this blood that's left in this bloodline right here, you can dig out, scrape out, and then wash away. With this, you're just doing it in one fell swoop, so you're kind of saving yourself a whole bunch of time. Mackerels, these are obviously like very big mackerels, but usually you're going to be processing a lot of little mackerels, and it's very time consuming. So this little trick will help kind of speed that up to the point where you can process like 4 to 5 mackerels every minute. From here. Same with a yellowtail, same with a rockfish. You're going to come from the back of the head. You're going to run your blade along the spine. And mackerel are super small and very finicky. So you want to be gentle when you're processing them so that way you're not tearing the meat. And then just like we did on every other fish, you want to make sure that you're sitting right on top of these bones. The spine on these isn't too big, so instead of having to make a bunch of incisions, I'm able just to go up and over, up through this. Again, so knife to the ceiling,
run down these rib bones, just like that. And then you're just going to come back through with your pliers, pull out these pin bones. There you go. You don't need to worry about taking the skin off. Skin's delicious. Scales are super, super small, so they cook up really nicely. And there you have it. The other way that we do these is we come in through the back side, come across, and then go in. We're just cutting around the spine right now. And we're going to cut through the spine. Mackerel and sardines are sometimes considered like bait fish or something like that. Something for bigger fish to eat. However, you know, they're beautiful. They're super tasty. The other thing is, like, a lot of people don't treat them right. Like, if they're not treated right, like, you can make a piece of beef taste like crap. It's really all about, like, perspective and how you treat the fish. So, put love and care into anything and it's going to come out super, super badass. So when you have a fisherman that's fishing them correctly, and then when you have a chef that actually takes time and prepares them well, they're one of the best fish. So what we're doing now is we've just removed the spine, and then from there we're going to remove these rib bones. So we're going to come up, break through the rib bones, we are going to come down, cut across here, remove that, and there you have butterfly mackerel. So this is the breakdown of our Aussie and Pacific mackerel. Right here you can tell the Aussie, and then over here you can tell the Pacific. So the different things that we use them for would be butterfly face down on a plancha or just like in a ripping hot cast iron. You then place your weight on top and let the fish actually steam itself. With these, we'll take them, we'll batter them, and then we'll fry them. And they come out beautiful. Super, super crispy. That skin crisps up, and they end up coming out really, really tasty. We'll take the head, the ribs, the whole mackerel, and the spine bones, and we'll put those into a shallot, garlic, butter, and a white wine mixture, and we'll let those boil or comfy for a very, very long time. After that, we'll blend those, and we'll blend it with a little bit of eggs and heavy cream, and then from there, we let it set, whip it, and then set it with a little bit of fat, and that's how we make our mackerel pate here at Urban Sea. So next up, we're going to be breaking down some rockfish. So, like I was saying earlier, this is my favorite kind of fish. Just like what we did with the yellowtail. So we're going to be coming in behind this collarbone, cutting down and through. We're then going to flip our knife over, run it along the spine right here. Flip. Behind the collarbone, down and through. We're going to cut up to the back of the head. From there, we're going to be running back down through the spine again, cutting through. Take our knife, just like we did with the other fish today. We're going to be pressing against the spine bones, coming across, up and over the spine, down and through. Make sure we have a nice cut here. Personally, I like to come back through, cut this off, flip it over, so again, taking our knife, cutting along the spine, up and over, through those pin bones,
across the other side. Like when you're learning to cut fish, I don't think rushing is like good. I think you should focus on getting good at it before you start trying to be fast. Because when you're rushing, that's when you make mistakes. Oop. Another huge thing that I would say is, like, it's something that I say for pretty much, it's butchering anything, is you want to use your hands as much as possible. So before you just start going in blind on stuff, make sure that you come in and you make sure that you're on top of the spine bones, right? So you wanna like use your head, but also use your appendages. Making sure, and then like I'm doing here, is I want to lift the fillet up to make sure that I'm sitting on top of these spine bones. You can see that they raise up like this. So if you put your knife through here, you're gonna cut into the next fillet. So you wanna make sure that you're sitting on top. Doesn't matter if you've been cutting fish for 10 years or it's your first day. This is like the small thing that really does make a huge difference, is using your eyes. The reason that I cut through these bones is because personally, I like to come back through and trim off this belly portion. And like I was saying earlier about taking time, being delicate, is it does add an extra step, but you end up getting a really, really clean cut. You're able to control the fish a lot easier, and you're gonna lose a lot less meat. Here we try and save as much of the meat as we possibly can. So instead of cutting off this whole piece right here, you're losing barely anything. So what you can do is you can air dry these fish, and then when you fry them, the scales puff up and they actually add texture to the outside of the fish. It's something that I think is a really, really cool technique and super tasty. So I preferably like to leave some scales on when I do my whole fried fish. This is the breakdown of the rockfish. We have the head. This will be great for broiling or grilling, brushing occasionally. This is the head with the collars attached. These are your two collars disattached. These are great for frying. Chicken fried collar wings are awesome. They eat just like a chicken wing. This is going to be your fillet, bone on, rib on, skin on. Over here you have your boneless, skinless, middle portion fillet. This is going to be your tail portion. And then over here is going to be our middle top portion of raw cod, which we use for sashimi here at the restaurant. When you have quality this good, you can't go wrong eating it raw.
So we're gonna take the yellowtail and we're gonna prepare it into a crudo today with a apple shoyu, ginger vinaigrette, a little bit of burnt Fresno oil, and then some mustard frill.
When it's cut, you can see all these like different little intersecting fibers, and each one of those, when your teeth hits it, is like a different texture and a different little bite. So here what we have is it's a little bit of apple shoyu. So what we do is we take apples from julienne, we juice them, and then we reduce them all the way down into a syrup, and then we just mix in a little bit of white shoyu, some salt. Here we have some Fresno oil. With this, we take some more of that apple juice, and then some ginger, a little bit more good olive oil, shallot, garlic. We blend it, let it sit for a day or two so the astringency from the garlic goes away. And then we place that on top. We use a little bit
of mustard frill from Girl and Doug, which is a farm here in San Diego. This is just going to add a little bit of freshness, a little bit of bitterness, kind of round the dish back out. Also doesn't hurt that it looks pretty. That's it. Yellowtail crudo here at Urban Sea.
So here's our whole fried rockfish. That's gonna come with some pickled green strawberries from the Ecology Center, some rice with some herbs, bitter wintergreen salad with a miso dressing, and then just a little bit of soy dipping sauce. There she is. Yum yum. So this is our crispy skin Aji mackerel. All we do is we butterfly it, we cook it in a little bit of Wagyu fat with salt and pepper, fresh lime on the side, and then here we have a garlic, butter, white wine, and caper sauce. Shows those right over the top. A little bit of fennel pollen, chili flakes,